The signal in the sand, the wind howled across the empty desert moon, sweeping sand into twisting spirals that danced under the pale twin suns. Sergeant Eric Maddox adjusted his helmet, his boots sinking with each step as he led the human recon. Squad across the ridge. Their objective was simple: a faint distress signal had been picked up from this barren world, a place officially marked as uninhabited, but the signal had a strange pulse, one that didn't match any known human or allied tech. It called for help in an old, forgotten language that only their translator AI could barely understand. "Coordinates match," whispered Private Kira from behind, tapping her datapad. "Signals coming from the canyon ahead." Eric gave a short nod, raising the closed fist to slow the squad. His instincts screamed caution, but the tone of the signal, desperate and faint, felt too human to ignore. They moved in formation, rifles ready, scanning every shadow and rock. As they reached the canyon floor, the sand suddenly gave way to broken metal and burnt stone. A crash site, parts of a sleek silver ship were scattered like bones, still steaming in places. Eric moved closer and noticed the strange, organic curves of the wreck. It didn't look like any ship built by human hands. Then he saw her, lying against a broken piece of the hull was a figure, small, fragile-looking, her skin a glowing lavender hue that shimmered under the sun. Her body was wrapped in a strange fabric, torn and scorched, and a deep gash ran down her side. One of her arms was twisted, and her chest rose and fell in weak, shallow breaths. "Medic now," Eric barked, as Kira rushed forward with a field kit. The alien girl opened her eyes wide in glowing gold and looked straight at Eric. She spoke a single word in English, voice trembling. "Please." Then she passed out. They worked fast, patching her wound and stabilizing her vitals. Eric felt his pulse racing as he watched her. She looked so human, and yet, not at all. There was a strange hum around her body, as if the air itself was reacting to her presence. When Kira touched her wrist, her own hand trembled and she pulled away quickly. "There's energy flowing through her skin," she said. "It's like static, but alive." Eric made the call to carry her back to base camp. They had to figure out who she was, what her species was, and why she had called to them. But the moment Eric lifted her in his arms, something shifted. A warm pulse traveled from her body into his chest. And for a second, he couldn't breathe. He staggered, nearly dropping her. But she clung to him weakly. Her lips moved again. "Don't let go." He didn't. They returned to camp, where the med tent hummed with scanners and monitoring gear. The alien girl lay on the cot, her body slowly recovering with each hour. Eric sat beside her, unable to shake the strange feeling growing inside him. Dreams came to him that night, dreams of stars, warmth, and something reaching out. Something female, something ancient. When he woke up, the girl was sitting up, staring at him. "I'm Kelry," she said softly, her voice no longer shaking. "You answered my call," Eric blinked. "What are you? Why were you calling humans?" Kelry tilted her head, her golden eyes glowing brighter. "Because only humans can feed me," she said. Eric stood, confused. "Feed you?" Kelry smiled gently. "Not with food, not with water, but with something deeper." The squad entered the tent, weapons lowered but eyes wary. "She's recovering too fast," Kira said. "More than what our medicine can explain." "She said humans feed her," Eric replied. The room fell silent. Kelry looked at each of them, her presence warm, magnetic, pulling their attention like gravity. "My body was made for bonding," she explained. "Your kind human males carry the energy I need to survive." Private Diaz scoffed. "What are you, some kind of alien vampire?" Kelry's gaze turned sad. "No, but my species was hunted for what we are," she said. "I'm the last one." A chill spread through the tent. Kelry lay back on the cot, exhausted again. "But now," she whispered, "I found one who matches." Her eyes locked on Eric, and the heartbeat monitor began to beep faster. Not hers, his. Eric stumbled back, but couldn't break the connection. Kira grabbed his arm. "She's syncing with you." "What the hell does that mean?" he asked, heart racing. No one had an answer, but deep down, Eric knew. Something inside her had awakened, and now it was inside him too. Asterisk the awakening. The moon sky burned pink as sunrise touched the jagged cliffs, but the human squad wasn't. Watching the beauty outside, they were staring at the impossible happening inside their medical tent. Kelry, the alien girl they rescued, was floating 3 inches above the cot. No machines held her, no wires supported her, and yet she hovered. Eyes closed, glowing softly like a living star. Sergeant Eric Maddox clenched his fists, the air around him heavy and strange. He felt it again, that tug inside his chest, like invisible threads pulling toward her. Kira stood by the monitor, whispering, "Her vitals are climbing, but she's not breathing in the usual way." Eric nodded slowly, his throat dry. He wasn't just watching her change, he was feeling it inside his body. Kelry's lips moved as if speaking to someone. Though no sound came, then, suddenly, her golden eyes snapped open, and the tent lights flickered, the floating stopped, and she gently touched the floor with her bare feet. Everyone stepped back, weapons low but ready. "I'm not a threat," Kelry said calmly, her voice more focused than before. "I was never meant to be one." Eric stepped forward, still drawn to her. "Then what are you?" Kelry looked at him with something ancient in her eyes. "A bond maker," she answered. "My kind once lived among stars, creating harmony through connection." Kira raised her weapon slightly. "You said you need human energy." Kelry nodded. "Yes, but it's not taken, it's shared," Private Diaz muttered. "I don't like the way this sounds." Kelry's eyes moved to him, unreadable. "Neither did those who hunted us." Eric looked around the tent, then back at her. "Why me? Why now?" Kelry stepped closer, each movement graceful but unsettling. "Because you're compatible," she whispered. "I called out, and you answered. You've awakened something inside me, and I inside you." The air shifted, warm and charged. Like the moment before lightning, Eric reached for his side, his skin felt hot, heart thumping out of rhythm. "What's happening to me?" he asked, voice unsteady. Kelry placed a hand gently on his chest. "You're becoming something more." Suddenly, the tent's sensors went wild. Alarms blinking, readings spiking. Kira ran to the control panel, shouting, "The entire squad's biosigns are fluctuating." Private Jensen staggered back, holding his head. "I'm seeing things like memories that aren't mine." Eric gritted his teeth. "Kelry, stop this." She looked surprised. "I didn't start it. The causing the squad was breaking down physically, mentally, emotionally. Kelry's presence was affecting all of them, but especially Eric. And then, something even more chilling happened. The squad's missing soldier, Private Han, walked into the tent. His skin pale, veins glowing faintly, eyes no longer human. Everyone turned, shocked and silent. Han smiled. Faintly, "I was with her." Kelry stepped forward, eyes wide. "You returned." Han nodded. "I bonded, and now I understand." Eric raised his weapon. "Understand what?" "That she's not the last," Han replied. "There are more like her, asleep, hidden, waiting for one of us to call them back." The tent fell into silence, broken only by the hum of alien energy in the air. Kelry looked at Eric again. "Your squad was chosen because your hearts still listen." Diaz shook his head, stepping back. "This is some kind of trap." Kelry looked hurt, but she didn't deny it. "I'm not forcing you," she said quietly, "but the bond has started, and if it breaks now, we both might die." Eric stared at her, torn between duty and something deeper he couldn't name. Kira looked at him, eyes sharp. "She's rewriting you, Eric, cell by cell." He didn't answer, because deep inside, he already knew. The warmth, the dreams, the voice in his sleep, it was all her, and part of him didn't want it to stop. As the suns rose higher outside, the squad faced the truth. Their mission had changed. They hadn't just found a survivor. They had found the beginning of something ancient, dangerous, and irreversible. Temptation Protocol. Private Diaz woke screaming, his skin drenched in sweat. But it wasn't the heat that woke him. It was her voice, whispering inside his skull like a warm current. He stumbled out of his tent, falling onto the sand, chest pounding, heart screaming, in the distance, under the pale moons. Kelry stood motionless, her back to him, arms raised toward the stars. Her body shimmered with a glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. But it wasn't hers, it was Eric's inside. The command post. Sergeant Eric Maddox leaned on the wall, gripping his side, every time Kelry breathed. He felt a tug in his bones like his body was no longer his alone. Kira paced near the console, her voice sharp. "We need to contact High Command now." "No," Eric growled. "Not yet." "Why not?" She snapped. "We're being changed one by one." He didn't answer. Because he couldn't explain it. Not the dreams, not the strange warmth, not the feeling of purpose he hadn't known he was missing. Kelry had said it wasn't just physical. Her kind bonded through more than skin. They reached into emotion, memory, instinct, threading themselves into their chosen partners from the inside out. And Eric was starting to feel addicted. Kelry entered the tent without sound. Her feet leaving no marks in the sand, she looked stronger now. Her wounds gone, her posture regal, like a queen rediscovering her throne. "I told you I didn't mean harm," she said, her voice soft as silk. "But I won't lie, your kind has always pulled us closer than we expected." Eric stared at her. "What exactly are you feeding on?" Kelry's golden eyes shimmered. "Connection." Kira drew her pistol, trembling slightly. "Stay back." But Kelry didn't flinch. "You're afraid because you feel it too, aren't you?" Kelry's presence radiated like gentle heat, making even the air throb. Her words weren't just heard, they were felt, like fingers brushing the soul. "We were made to bond with other species," she continued. "But humans, your minds, your hearts, your pain and hunger for meaning, it fuels something deeper." Eric stepped forward, eyes locked on hers. "And when that bond finishes, what happens to us?" Kelry looked away, for the first time uncertain. "Some humans become more," she said. "Faster, stronger, more in tune. Others," she paused, "lose themselves in the bond." The air turned colder. Private Han entered then, his presence calm but distant, his veins still glowed faintly. And his voice echoed slightly when he spoke. "I remember everything," he said. "I still feel like me. But?" Eric asked. Han blinked slowly. "But I'm also hers now." Kira took a step back, horror filling her eyes. "This is a protocol breach," she said. "This isn't first contact, it's seduction." Kelry flinched as if slapped. "No," she said, "it's survival. You call it temptation," she added, looking at Eric. "But to me, it's salvation." Then Diaz stormed in, his hands shaking. "She was in my head," he shouted. "I saw her past, the wars, the betrayals, the loneliness. I woke up crying," he whispered. "Crying for someone I don't even know." Kelry lowered her head, voice shaking. "I didn't enter your mind, your heart opened to me. This is not mind control, it's resonance." The squad fell into silence. But the tension was heavy. Eric looked around at his team, tired, shaken, breaking apart one piece at a time, and all because of her. Or maybe because of something inside them she awakened. Kelry stepped closer to Eric, inches away now. He didn't move, couldn't move. "You're already halfway there," she whispered. "Let me show you." She placed her hand on his chest, and time folded. In a flash, Eric saw stars bleeding, cities floating, alien children laughing under twin suns. He saw Kelry running through silver grass, holding a human man's hand. He saw their world burn, hunted by those who feared the bond. He felt her pain, her hunger, her centuries of silence. And then, he saw her alone, dying, waiting, whispering into the void. Until his squad arrived, Eric gasped, falling to one knee. Kelry backed away, silent and glowing. The bond was no longer a theory, it was real and growing. Kira knelt beside him, terrified. "Eric, are you okay?" He looked up at her, voice trembling. "She showed me everything, and for the first time." He wasn't sure whose side he was still on. *The bonded. The first thing Sergeant Maddox noticed was the silence, not the usual calm of early morning on a dead moon, but a thick, humming silence that made the air feel heavy. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer in his cot. He was lying in the sand, shirt soaked in sweat, heart pounding like a war drum, and Kelry was beside him, eyes closed, fingers touching his chest like she was feeling for something beneath his skin. He pulled away fast, gasping, "What did you do to me?" Kelry slowly opened her eyes, sadness deep in them. "I only shared," she said, voice barely a whisper. "But you accepted more than I meant to give." Eric struggled to his feet. But the world around him spun colors too bright, sounds too sharp. Everything looked alive. Back at base, chaos was unraveling quietly. Private Han was leading drills without orders, issuing commands with perfect calm. His voice carried unnatural confidence, and the others obeyed without hesitation. Even Kira found herself nodding to his suggestions without thinking. Something about him was different, not just his glowing veins, but the way his presence filled a room. "He's not the same," Diaz muttered to Kira, keeping his hand near his weapon. "He's too smooth, too sure of himself." Kira nodded slowly, watching Han with narrowed eyes. "He's bonded," she said, "and it's spreading." Inside the medical tent, Kelry sat alone, her arms wrapped around her knees. She stared at nothing, but her body pulsed with a slow glow. Eric entered, still dizzy but walking straight. "You're turning my team into something else," he said flatly. Kelry didn't look up. "They are choosing." "No," Eric snapped. "You're inside their heads." Kelry finally met his eyes, golden and deep like suns behind clouds. "I don't control the bond," she said. "It only begins when a human opens their heart." Eric slammed his fist on the table. "Then tell me what it does." Kelry stood, her voice steady now. "It rewrites us, both of us." She stepped closer, slowly. "When we bond, you become more aware, more connected, more alive." "But," Eric asked sharply. Kelry lowered her gaze. "You also lose parts of who you were, because we become something new." Kira stormed into the tent, breathing hard. "We have a problem." She pointed to the ridge where 3 more soldiers were kneeling, surrounding Han like students to a teacher. "They're calling him Alpha," she said. "They're not joking." Eric moved quickly with Kira, stepping outside into the rising heat. Sure enough, 3 soldiers, Privates Lennox, Voss, and Tira, had marks on their skin, glowing faintly. Their pupils were golden, their movements fluid. And Han stood at the center, speaking in both English and a strange hum. Kelry joined them, whispering, "It's spreading faster than I expected." Eric turned to her, voice sharp. "Then stop it." "I can't," she said. "Once it begins, it feeds on trust, emotion, loyalty, things you already carry." Kira pointed her weapon at Han. "Disengage them now." But Han just smiled, calm and unafraid. "You still think this is an invasion," he said. "But it's an evolution. We're becoming more than human, more than alien." Eric stepped between them, raising his hand. "Han, you're not in charge here," he said. "I am." Han tilted his head. "Then why does your heart beat in sync with hers?" Everyone froze. Eric's breath caught because he realized it was true. Each time Kelry stepped closer, his pulse changed rhythm, and now it matched hers perfectly. "You're already bonded," Han said softly. "You just don't want to admit it." Diaz ran up from the cliff, panting. "You guys need to see this." They followed him to the communication tower, where the long-range scanners showed blinking red dots in orbit. Dozens of ships unidentified, moving fast. Kelry's face went pale. "They heard me," she whispered. "The others? The others?" Eric asked, his voice cold. Kelry turned to face him, eyes wide with fear and awe. "They're coming," she said. "Not to fight, but to join." The squad stood in silence, watching the sky, one by one. The stars above began to shift. No longer distant and harmless, but alive, moving, reaching for them. The bond had started as a whisper. Now it had become a call heard across the galaxy, and they had no idea what would answer it next. The hunger unleashed Keller screamed without sound, her mouth open, her body arching above the ground as golden light poured from her chest. The entire squad backed away as waves of heat rolled out from her like fire from a burning sun, sand around. Her feet turned to glass, and every electronic device within 50 meters sparked and died. Eric tried to run toward her, but his legs locked in place, as if the air itself had become too thick to move through. Kira shouted his name, but he couldn't. Answer Kelry's pull was stronger than anything he had felt in his life. She was changing, and so was he, her skin cracked in glowing patterns. Her hair lifted as if caught in a storm, and her eyes once gentle now blazed like twin stars. Kelry was no longer just an alien girl. She was something more, something ancient and terrifying waking up inside a fragile body. I can't stop. She cried out, voice layered with echoes. The hunger, it's too strong now. Eric's heart pounded in sync with hers, every thump sending heat down his spine. He stumbled closer, ignoring the pain, ignoring the fear in his team's eyes. Then let me help you, he said. Let me carry it too. Kelry looked at him, tears in her golden eyes. You don't understand what that means. She whispered. Eric took her hand, even as sparks crawled up his arm. I don't care, he said. I'm already halfway gone. Behind them, the sky cracked with thunder, not from clouds, but from ships arriving without sound, sleek and alive. They hovered in the sky like enormous birds watching a wounded hatchling. Kira stared at them, hands trembling on her weapon. What are they? Kelry didn't look away from Eric as she answered. My kin, she said. The awakened. More soldiers fell to their knees across the camp, overwhelmed by the pulse in the air. Some cried, some screamed, some just stared into the sky as if seeing home for the first time. Private Diaz tried to drag one of them back, but the man's skin was glowing, and his mouth whispered Kelry's name without stopping. We're losing them. Kira shouted, one by one. Kelry's body shimmered and flickered, her form now hard to define, part woman, part energy, part memory. I didn't mean for this, she said, voice shaking. I only wanted to live. Eric held her tighter, even as her body burned against his skin. You still can, he said, but not alone. Suddenly, Kelry released a burst of energy that knocked Eric backward. He landed hard, gasping, but looked up and saw her now hovering above the ground. Arms spread wide, her voice rang out in every head, not just spoken, but felt deep in the bones. You called me a threat, she said, but I am only a mirror, a reflection of what you already carry. The ships above pulsed with light, responding to her cry, and below, every bonded human began to rise, eyes glowing, bodies aligned with hers. They didn't look afraid anymore, they looked connected. Kira aimed her weapon at Kelry, fingers shaking. We have to stop this now, she said, before she takes the rest of us. Eric stood between them, voice low and firm. She's not taking anything, he said. We're giving it. Kira stepped back, stunned. You're one of them now, she whispered. Eric nodded slowly. Not them, he said. Us. Kelry descended, touching the ground again, her body still glowing, but calm. I don't want to hurt anyone, she said, but if I suppress the hunger any longer, I will die, and so will those bonded to me. Eric looked around at his team, at the few who still resisted, and the many who already followed. He turned to Kira, the last one standing beside him. We can't stop it, he said, but maybe we can shape it. In the silence that followed, the ships above began to lower, not with weapons, not with war, but with curiosity. Kelry reached out her hand, not just to Eric, but to all of them. Let me show you what the bond can become, she said. No one moved, not at first, and then, one by one, they stepped forward, not as soldiers, but as something new. Asterisk the arrival. The sky didn't roar. It sang low. Vibrating notes echoed through the desert air as the alien ships descended like shadows stretching across the moonscape. They made no sound of engines, no sign of weapons, Yet every human in the camp felt the pressure building in their bones. Cowrie stood in the center of it all, arms raised, her body glowing brighter than ever. She wasn't just calling them now, she was commanding them. Eric stood beside her, no longer feeling fear. He wasn't sure when it had left him. All he knew was that the moment those ships entered orbit, something inside him clicked into place. Like a puzzle he didn't know he carried had finally found its missing piece. And Cowrie was at the center of it. The first ship landed without touching the ground. It hovered inches above the sand, humming softly. Its surface was smooth, liquid-like, reflecting the humans like a living mirror. A panel opened, and figures emerged. They were tall, elegant, and glowing just like Cowrie. But there was something different about them. Their eyes didn't hold hunger, or fear, or even curiosity. They held recognition, as if they had been waiting for this moment far longer than the humans ever guessed. One of them stepped forward and spoke without moving their mouth. "You called, and we came." Cowrie bowed her head, her voice quiet and filled with emotion. "I was dying," she said. But they answered. The alien looked at Eric then, its gaze piercing but not hostile. "You bonded with her," it said, "and lived." Eric nodded slowly. "I didn't understand it, but I couldn't walk away." "You were not meant to," the alien replied. "The bond is sacred." Kira, standing off to the side, raised her weapon halfway. "Are you here to take her back?" she asked, voice sharp. The alien turned to her, speaking gently. "She is already home." The statement made Eric's chest tighten. Cowrie looked at him, sadness and gratitude mixing in her eyes. "I was always one of them," she said. "But now I'm also one of you." "That has never happened before," the alien added. "Until now, around them." The bonded humans began to stand taller. Their posture changed, their skin radiating a soft light. They were becoming something in between, not alien, not human, but both. Eric stepped forward, speaking louder now. "What happens to the rest of us?" The alien answered, "You have a choice. Bond with us and awaken parts of yourselves you've never known. Or walk away and keep what you are." Diaz shook his head, stepping closer. "And if we say no?" "There will be no war," the alien replied calmly. "Only distance." Kira lowered her weapon slowly, her hands trembling. "You've changed half my squad," she said. "And you say this isn't invasion?" Cowrie approached her, placing a hand on Kira's shoulder. "I didn't change them," she whispered. "They changed themselves, because they chose to feel instead of fear." Eric looked around at the faces he once knew. Now they were glowing, calm, powerful. They hadn't been taken. They had evolved. But the cost was clear. They would never be the same. "Can I still go back?" he asked Cowrie quietly. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "You can return to Earth." "Yes, but who you were will not return with you." The truth settled in like dust after a storm. This wasn't about war or survival. It was about transformation. The bond wasn't just a connection, it was a door. And now it was open. The alien leader turned to the horizon. "More are coming," it said. "More like her. More like you. This is not the end," it added. "This is the beginning." As more ships appeared in the sky, each humming the same soft tone, the humans knew their choice would echo far beyond the moon they stood on. Cowrie reached for Eric's hand, and he took it, not because he had to, but because he wanted to understand what came next. The new bond began with silence, not the silence of fear or of waiting, but the silence of understanding, deep, full, and final. Eric stood at the edge of the ridge, staring at the glowing valley below where alien ships floated like lanterns. The desert moon, once lifeless and cruel, now pulsed like a living heart, and he was a part of it. His squad had changed. Some had bonded fully, their bodies glowing, their minds clearer than ever before. Others had chosen to resist, stepping back, keeping their human selves whole. But even they could not deny what they had seen, what they had felt when Cowrie opened herself to them. Cowrie no longer walked. She glided above the ground like a breeze given form. Her body was human in shape, but no longer limited by biology. She had become a bridge between her dying race and Earth's scattered souls. And Eric was the first to cross that bridge fully. They didn't speak much anymore. Words weren't needed when every heartbeat spoke louder. Eric could feel her thoughts as easily as his own breath. Not like mind reading, not like control. It was something softer, like memory turned into light. Calry stood beside him now, eyes glowing like twin stars held in a fragile face. "You're ready," she said. Eric nodded slowly. "So are you." The alien leader approached them, flanked by bonded humans and awakened kin. "We watched your kind for centuries," the alien said. "From the edges of war, from the ashes of lost worlds. We thought humanity was too broken to bond. But we were wrong." Calry looked to the sky, where hundreds more ships hovered now, waiting for permission to land. "They came for me," she said, "but they'll stay for you." Eric turned to Kira, who stood apart from the group, still fully human, still watching everything with guarded eyes. "You don't have to decide now," he told her. She didn't reply, but her grip on her weapon had loosened, and there was something different in her eyes, less suspicion, more curiosity. Diaz stepped forward, his skin flickering with pale light. "What happens next?" he asked. Calry answered softly, "Whatever we build together." The bonded humans began constructing structures with alien materials, floating spires, pulsing domes, living metal shaped by thought. No one gave orders, no one shouted. They worked together in silent rhythm, guided by something deeper than speech, something ancient, reborn, and shared. Eric walked among them, not as a soldier, not even as a leader, but as the first human fully bonded, proof that peace could grow from the wreckage of fear. He no longer thought about returning to Earth, because Earth was coming here, through him, through every bond formed in trust. The galaxy would change now, not with warships, not with invasions, but with connection. Calry stood beside Eric, her voice warm as sunlight. "I was the last of my kind," she said, "but with you, I've become the first of something new." He smiled, tired but whole. "We're not alone anymore," he whispered, above them. The stars pulsed in reply, a soft signal spreading outward, planet to planet. An invitation, not a warning, and across space, hearts that had never known. Hope began to stir, because somewhere in the quiet of a broken moon, one human and one dying alien had chosen to feel, to trust, to bond, and from that bond, a new future had begun.